If you're a coach selling a high ticket offer and you're having trouble booking or closing sales calls, it's probably not your skills. The model and buyer behavior has changed and you simply haven't adapted. And there's something that's replaced sales calls in 2026. So in this video, I'm going to show you why sales calls are officially dead, what's replaced them, and how to make the switch to increase your close rate. And I'm also going to give you my effortless enrollment framework to show you how to do that in a simple way that feels natural and aligns with the way that people actually buy nowadays. And how do I know this? Well, you must be new. Welcome to the channel. My name's Kay Somji. I run a 7-figure coaching business. And the way that we do calls now has changed completely. When people show up to the calls, they know who we are, who I am, what I do, how I help people, what the price is. They've seen our case studies. They've seen our methodology. And we are simply there to ensure that it's a good fit. There's no salesiness or spamminess. And sometimes we even get messages like this where people message me and say, hey, I don't need a call. I just want to check out right here. And we can close them through the DMs or through a checkout page. And I'm in a unique position because I close with calls and without calls. You'll see a lot of people who will preach one way, like you need sales calls, and other people who say, don't sell on sales calls, you sell with a doc. We do both. We understand the best of both worlds. And currently we're closing around 65% on calls and 35% straight through a checkout page, through a DM or email. And so I'm going to share with you what's changed with calls that prevents people from closing. And I'm going to show you how to make it easy to close with people who are actually willing and able to afford your stuff and want to work with you. So the first reason that people make it tough is the call is doing too much heavy lifting. You think about when you come to a call, the coach or the salesperson, here's what they're trying to do on the call. They're doing discovery. They are qualifying the lead. They are educating the lead on why their opportunity is what they need. They are trying to extract and create pain. They're trying to paint the desire. They're trying to bridge that gap. They're trying to sell their vehicle as the reason for change. Then they're also trying to get that person to decide, make a decision right there and then, and pay on the spot. Well, no wonder they get objections. And so what happens is they close in a minority of cases, and in the majority, they get these objections. Often you'll hear things like, I need to think about it, or I need to ask my wife, or anything else. And when people say they need to think about it, well, yeah, look how much you've just sprung on them. Of course they need to think about it. And even if it sounds good, it's just so much for them to process that they go into this defense mode and they give you a smokescreen objection. Because obviously it's not that they can't afford it, because if they were 100% sure they would get the outcome, they would find the money, right? Like they do for other things. And so this happens where they say they need to think about it and can't afford it, need to ask the wife, need to save up, etc. And so the problem is that the call should be a conversion mechanism. It shouldn't be the education mechanism. So if you look at other sales, look at buying a house or look at buying a car. In the example of buying a house, the education of the house is done separately to the sale of the house. People come and they look at the area that they're going to be living in. They look at the house, they check out the number of bedrooms, the bathrooms, the flooring, the walls, and make sure everything looks good. And if it checks out, then they go into the sales process. Same with a car. People look at the car, they look at the model, they might test drive it. Then when things look good, then they go into the conversion part of it, which is to sign and get financing if that's what they're doing. They don't go into the financial portion and say, actually, this is a 2-door car, I want a 4-door car. They would have done that before. So the education and the conversion mechanism should be separate. This is how I've seen it work best. And so what you should be doing on the call with the conversion mechanism is to ensure the fit, just pretty much cross the T's and dot the I's. And what this does is it creates layup deals, creates shorter calls. You shouldn't be on a call for an hour fighting with the prospect, 15 to 30 minutes. It creates higher close rates, pretty much no objections except real logistical ones, and you collect way more cash on the call as well. And one of our clients, Steph, installed this framework into her business and closed 7 out of her first 10 calls simply because she built trust and framed this as an enrollment or advisory call, not something where everything was hidden and had to be sold on the call. The second reason that people struggle to convert on calls is that your prospects have seen it all before. You see, it used to be new. Back in 2019, probably 2019 into 2020, that's when the high ticket selling model came into the coaching space kind of mainstream. Before that, it was there a little bit. But people hadn't really seen these kind of sales calls, or everybody with a Calendly, everybody asking questions, or setters and closers and these kind of things. And now they're just commonplace. So when this came into coaching, it was new. Instead of people going through a landing page and having to go to a webinar, and there's that phase of automated webinars, now they're actually getting on a call, usually with the coach themselves, sometimes with a salesperson, getting their questions answered. They could build a real relationship, and they felt confident paying their money. But now it's mainstream. People are fed up of it. People have had so many bad experiences, and they already know the game, right? They know the score. They've seen the questions. They know the line of questioning. They know exactly what it's going to be, and they don't want to play that game anymore. And so everyone's having the same conversation, and they say, if it looks like a duck, if it smells like a duck, if it swims and it quacks, it's a duck, right? So in a world full of ducks, be the goose. People just want the information, and they want to make their own decisions. And this takes me back to a few weeks ago when I was in a sales conversation, not from my end selling, but I was looking to purchase a service for my business. And literally when I got on the call, the salesperson, like, no discredit to him, he did everything right. But it was, what made you book the call today? Here's what we're going to go through. All I ask is at the end of the call, you give me a yes or a no. And there are a bunch of other isms like that. That was the other one, on a 1 to 10. And look, I'm a sophisticated prospect, right? I've spent a couple of $100,000 on investing into stuff. Again, not to discredit the salesperson, he did everything right. But if everybody's used to it, and when everyone zigs, you have to zag. Imagine you go and take the best pickup line in the world and you use it on a girl who's heard that 50 times that day. It's not going to end well for you. And so what most salespeople are doing is they are trying to get people to this call, and then they are hiding behind the scripts and then letting the script do the work. Whereas what we do is we don't hide behind the scripts. We show everything up front, and we have an open and honest conversation to see if we can help the prospect on the call. Most salespeople are hiding the price so that they can build all this value, and then when the prospect's in a heightened state, try and close them on the deal. We don't do this because, again, these things, it's not that they do or don't work. It's that now everyone's wise to them. Everyone's become used to it. And so people don't want that anymore. So we just share our price up front so that we don't have to go and try and bamboozle people and fight objections. And most salespeople, they will book everybody in and use the call as the filter, but that wastes a lot of time. So we actually actively filter people up front so that we can have that real honest conversation with people on the call. And the third reason is that you want to look at how people actually buy nowadays. In this day and age, people go on Google, or even more now, they go on AI and look things up, right? ChatGPT and Claude and a bunch of other tools. So people don't want to talk to somebody. They want to research and decide on their own. Again, the call can be for the fit. The call can be to confirm things. It should be more of a confirmation, not selling. So before the call, if you can provide information, your methodology, the price, the frameworks, and a little bit about your offer. You don't have to go into depth on everything, but so they can see the gist. You know what this does? It just oozes confidence. Because who else is doing this? And it's very socially intelligent. We already know that people want to see your thinking. They want to see your methodology. They want to see your proof. They want to see your processes, and they want to see it all up front so they can decide if it's for them. Because there's so many options out there. Again, before, not many people were doing calls. There weren't that many coaches. There was so much more demand than there was supply. So it was easier back then. But now it seems like everyone's a coach, right? There's so much more supply than demand. And you see a small group of coaches just taking all the profits. And this is especially important for sophisticated buyers. So I've given you these three, but how do you fix them? Because you can't just cut out sales calls. And the goal isn't to cut out the call. A lot of other gurus will tell you, yes, just ditch the call and try and sell on the dock. Doesn't work for most people. And the reason is because we're not just trying to ditch the call. All those things on the call are important. Like I said, creating the desire, relating that to the pain, creating the gap, and all the other things. But the goal is to replace what the call does. So the value that you're giving, the knowledge, the education, building the trust, sharing the offer, or at least a gist of it, this should be done up front. So what I recommend for most people, again, I'm in the position where we sell with calls and also without calls. But for most people, unless you're getting like 10, 20 clients a month already, I recommend enrollment or advisory calls for most people. And most people will just hear this and dismiss it and say, okay, it's just a different name. It's not just a different name. It's completely different, and there's different framing. So with the advisor or enrollment call, it's actually a different type of call where you're not just doing that line of questioning and trying to corner somebody into a sale. And the prospects are framed. They already know what they're getting into. They know the pricing and everything like that. So there's three main ways that you're going to do this. There's things that you have to accomplish before the call so that you can do this. The first is building a parasocial relationship. If you're not familiar with that, parasocial relationship means one way. If you think about your favorite sports player, you know them, but they don't know you. And you probably know them well enough that you know a few things about them, or you run up and have a conversation with them on the street. That is a parasocial relationship. Before people work with you, it's not just about know, like, and trust. It's a bit deeper than that. They need to admire you and admire your work, as well as have those other facets in place. So you've probably heard me talk about on this channel the 7-11-4 rule, 7 hours of content across 11 touch points in 4 different locations. And this allows you to build authority and familiarity with that person. The best way I like to do this is through long form content, short form content, and emails. So long form, videos like this YouTube video, because how else are you going to get 7 hours of content with somebody, 11 touch points, sprinkle it in with short form and also email, and then those 4 different locations. And if you look at the people dominating, don't just take it from my word. Look at the people dominating. They are all doing this. It's a non-negotiable nowadays. So you need to get that parasocial relationship in place by being present on multiple platforms and long-form content. You also need to pre-sell them on you. So have them pre-sold. Again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but your frameworks, your methodology, your values, like what you stand for, what you believe in, how you think, and you want to give your best stuff away. Again, this will be met with some resistance. People will say, well, if I give away my best stuff, why would they not just go and do it on their own? They probably can't. I've never seen that happen. You give away the stuff and then they want to work with you to do it faster. The people who really want to check out the best stuff, they don't want to take ages. They actually want to work with somebody quicker. And to give another example of this, I was in Costco the other week, and the samples they give out, if you've been to Costco, they're giving out some chicken on toothpicks. And they don't say, well, we shouldn't give away our best chicken, right? We should water it down by 50% so that people go and buy the better stuff. No, they give away the 100%, but they give you just enough. So they're not worried about the person who has the one sample and then doesn't buy. Or the cheeky buggers who walk around and then come back and have a second or a third one. They don't care because they know a certain number of people will try it and then want the full thing. So that's the way you want to be doing things. It doesn't mean you have to give every single thing away, but give some of your best stuff away. And trust me, if you don't, what's going to happen is your competition will, and then you will regret it. How do I know? Because this has happened to me. I've had some great things up here in the Memorex that I didn't put out there. And then other people did. And I was just kicking myself. I'm like, I knew that. I was going to say that. And I could have done it way better than them. And so I did. But they beat me to the punch. And another thing you want to do as well is ungatekeep. Most coaches are gatekeeping. They are gatekeeping the offer. They are gatekeeping all the value and knowledge until the call. And I already shared with you why that doesn't work. So again, show that the offer works. Show your pricing or your range of pricing. And get people qualified, interest and ability, and get them framed so they know what to expect. And then simply on the call, you're assessing for fit. On your end, is this going to be a good person for you to work with? On their end, are they going to be a good fit for you, or are you going to be a good fit for them? And also, is your product going to be right for them? It's not always going to be. There's nothing wrong with turning people away. I turn people away if what we have isn't a good fit for them. And again, like I said earlier, oozing confidence. Who else is doing this? Tell me who else in your market is actually doing this, giving all this stuff away and just not being worried, because it just shows, again, that confidence. People want to know the price. Hey, here you go. Here's our range of pricing. Hey, how does your offer work? Here's a sheet that breaks it down. How does this work? Hey, here's a few videos. I'm not ready to work with you yet. No problem. Go and consume all my content until you are. If people want to have objections, cool. But I'm not worried about that, right? Okay, I don't know if I can afford it. No problem. I don't want you booking a call if you're not sure if you can afford it. Go and consume all my other stuff. Come back when you're ready. I'm not sure this is the right time. I'm not going to try and fight their time objection. Cool. Go consume my stuff. Come back when you're ready. It's just so bloody attractive. And I've heard that so many times. And it's worked well for us and our clients. Maybe it'll work for you as well. And so the way I recommend you do this is instill these lessons and instill these things, the values, the frameworks, the methodology, all these things I talked about, instill them in your free content, and then also create a VSL which goes slightly in depth on your offer. And you've noticed I've held that back just a little bit. I do think there's something to be said for holding a bit of the offer back for the conversion mechanism, whether that is on a sales call, or I should say enrollment advisory call, or whether it's through a doc, or whether it's through a sales page, or whatever it is. And so now that you know how to do this, I'm also going to share with you a few of the biggest mistakes, because I don't want you to just go and absolutely mess this up, right? Again, not qualifying is a big mistake. You only want to deal with people who are willing and people who are able. If somebody is not willing, well, why would you try and sell to them? And if they're not able, well, what good is that? Somebody is willing to buy a Lamborghini but only makes $50,000 a year. They're not able to, right? Another mistake people make is thinking they need the call to sell. Again, I'm in a unique position for this. Some people think they don't need the call, but some people think I need the call. If I don't do this, they won't buy. If I don't share the price on the call, if I share it before, they won't even book in. Nonsense, right? Take this coaching hat off for a minute. Louis Vuitton shares their prices. You can see it on the website. People still go in and spend thousands on a bag. University, people know how much university costs. Not only do they go and pay 50, 100 grand or more, they do it when they don't have the money. They do it when they actually can't afford it. So get your head out of what you've been told in the coaching space for a minute and just understand it's not true. And you might also think that you can't handle the objections on the call. That's where you should handle them. No, objections are a result of poor marketing. Go to the real estate agent. How many times do they get an objection? You know what, this isn't the right time. Well, you won't be looking at the house. Or go to Sephora, okay, different example. Go to the checkout and say, hey, you know, I'm going to have to think about this, or I need to go ask my wife. They'll just look at you like you're from another planet. Not because people shouldn't have objections, but because those objections should not be coming up at the point of sale. They shouldn't be at the conversion mechanism. They should be way earlier on. You can use all these things as a filter, and that's what I really recommend you doing with high-ticket coaching sales. Now, if I finally convince you to stop doing these sales calls and replace them with enrollment and advisory calls, and if you want my one-on-one help to give you the blueprint, install our battle-tested strategies along with dozens of other principles that actually make this whole thing work to help you sign an additional 5 to 20 high-ticket clients a month, I've left the link below in the description. And if you're not ready for that yet, then I want you to check out this video next, where I break down the psychological principles on exactly how to get people to buy without being salesy, which will compound with exactly what you just learned here. I'll see you in that video.